welcome to the second episode of the Pursuit of Passion podcast. My name is Ray.
My name is Irvin.
My name is Aries.
And wanted to welcome you guys again. So a little bit about us and what we're trying to do here. We are having conversations with people who are passionate about what they do. And what we want to do is get their story, have them really reflect on how their story has got them to where they are today. And so we hope that whoever's listening also reflects on their past and looks at how that shaped them to be who they are today and what they're passionate about. In this second episode, before we talk about who we have on the episode, we did want to talk about like what we've been up to lately. And especially since this whole self-quarantine thing has been happening and the coronavirus and this whole pandemic has definitely changed not only our lives, but everyone in the world, you know? And so, we wanted to talk about like what we've been up to. So, Irvin, why don't you talk about what you've been up to?
I have been working from home for the past 3 weeks now. Haven't gone out anywhere. I've gotten boba like once, but I mean, we live in the East Bay and it's pretty much a ghost town right now. So I haven't seen anyone other than my brother and my parents. We're recording this on March 29th. Just to preface, we haven't seen anyone other than each other, so we have been pretty safe about this. What about you guys?
I've just been stuck at home. I was by myself for a while, so it's a good thing my brothers came through because I was bored at the house. Quarantine's been okay. Work was very iffy about whether they're not going to pay us or not, but it was resolved. What else? Other than that, I've been learning how to cook. So, I mean, I guess there's one benefit to this quarantine.
We're recording this at Aries' house, and luckily all of his housemates are gone right now, so it's just us. And we've just been kicking it for the past couple days over the weekend. But for me, I've been working from home for 2 weeks now, and at first it was like pretty enjoyable, you know, like having my alone time, like being comfortable at home and stuff. But now it's getting to the point where it is like pretty monotonous. It's pretty boring doing the same thing over and over again. I've gone out a couple times just to like get some fresh air, being safe about the whole self-distancing thing and everything when I do go out and do like, you know, go grocery shopping. And luckily these grocery stores are
open.
They're open and they're pretty safe about it as well. Like they put like tape that's exactly 6 feet apart in the lines, so that way you're like, you know that you're 6 feet apart. It's been pretty tough. Other than that, keeping myself busy, I've been still trying to work out and stuff. I actually ran a half marathon at home at our at-home treadmill, and ran it in under 2 hours, and that was my goal ever since I started running, which was about 8 weeks ago. So super proud of myself. And
sooner than
I'm honestly really surprised that I was able to do it. I think it was all, you know, mental though. And so super proud about that. I'm still gonna continue running, and I did want to let you guys know that I am planning to shoot a whole video about why I decided to start running and why I continue to run. The plan was to film it a couple weeks ago, but then this whole coronavirus thing happened, and so not exactly safe to be shooting out there. And so still definitely plan to do it, just it's tentative as to when everyone says it's safe to go outside. Just been at home, hang out with these guys. It's been nice that, you know, luckily we were able to hang out with Aries, and like I said, his housemates are gone, so it's been really cool just
pretty chill
kicking it here.
So now we're just going to talk a little bit about our guest this episode, his name is Sean Santos. Sean Santos is originally my friend. I met him around a little bit over a year ago, and we met through the Filipino graduation ceremony. We graduated class of 2019 at SF State, and we were both in charge of that event with several others. I was in charge of finance, he was in charge of PR, and we had like a director and an aesthetics person. But Sean has always been super interesting to me because he is multi-talented, and he always knows how to describe himself super eloquently, and he's super passionate about the communities that he's a part of, specifically photography and the Filipino scene here in the Bay Area and all over. But yeah, now what did you learn when we interviewed him?
So I really liked how Sean talked about how he's a time traveler, and I feel like some people would hear that and think that's crazy talk, but that's how I actually see photography as well. And I've kind of dabbled in it a little bit as well. I took I majored in journalism, and so there was this intro to photography class, and so that's where I kind of started, and that's always kind of how I viewed photography, is like it's your ability to take a moment in time and freeze it, right? And with that moment, it encapsulates memories, right? And so
with a visual.
Yeah, and so I think what I need to do more of is really try and capture those moments, right? I think a lot of the time, during, when we have good memories, it's definitely important to live through those memories, but I think capturing them in the right way, I think, is super important as well, and so I think that's what I want to do, and I'm glad to hear someone who's super passionate about photography kind of shares that same vision,
I think for me, I just enjoyed hearing about how selfless he is about his passions, and his passions aren't really for his own enjoyment, but it's more so to serve the people, whether it be giving someone their wedding photos, or giving a DJ, their event photos, or even, teaching high school kids about Filipino culture. It's not about his own personal enjoyment, but it's about serving the communities that he's a part of, and I think that's something that we could all really respect and all, strive to do. Passions isn't just about indulging in yourself, but it's also, what can you do for others?
What can you give back to the world?
Yeah, I also, what I think we really enjoyed, Irvin and I, was talking to Sean about Asian American studies, specifically Phil Lam studies. Sean is really passionate about that as well, and he is an educator, and we did talk about how he might possibly do that in the future. I think it's just really cool how Sean wasn't exactly really in tune with his culture before college, but then going into college, he dove right into it, and now he's teaching kids about Asian American studies, and that's really admirable. So yeah, that's a really great conversation talking about that as well.
Yeah, and so for our next guest, we already had it pre-recorded before this whole quarantine thing, but our next guest is DJ Spicy. You want to talk a little bit about her?
Yeah, Spicy. Her name's Spicy. Her DJ name is Spicy. Her real name is Angela, and she's really dope. She talks a lot about her experience in therapy, psychotherapy, and how she wants to get into that in the future, as well as her part-time job as a DJ. And she works for No Chance Radio. And yeah, so she kind of has to balance those two things. And I think in our conversation, you can really tell her passion for both sides. And I think that's really dope, how she's able to balance that. And she's really adamant about that, right? Because when it comes to your mental health, it's really important to balance the things that are important to you. And you can really tell that she takes the time to really figure out how to balance those things. So yeah, we plan to release that in 2 weeks from today. And so we did want to talk a little bit about why our schedule has kind of changed And as you can guess, it's because of this whole coronavirus thing. We figured it's better to space it out because we're not exactly sure when this whole pandemic will end, if it's anytime soon. So we felt like it was better to space it out so to give you guys content over a longer span of time. And
Give you something to do during the quarantine.
exactly, yeah. and that's another thing too, is we are not taking the chance and interviewing new guests because we want to keep ourselves safe, we want to keep them safe, make sure we're taking the measures to do our part in social distancing. And so we'll pick it up once again once all of this is over. And so hopefully you guys can be patient with us, and we'll get right back into it once it's over.
But for some guests that you guys could look forward to that we have contacted and that are tentative to be recorded, one of them, his name is Jonathan Cerrone. You want to talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, so Jonathan's, I met him my sophomore year of college. We did the same internship program. It was a Filipino American internship program, and then we were part of this Philam org, and then we did the Filipino graduation ceremony as well. We worked on that together too. And he's always been someone who's a great conversation. He's really fun to be around, just a really upbeat person, and someone you always think about when you want to invite someone fun to something. You know, he's always like the life of the party kind of thing. And so we're really excited to talk to him because he actually quit his full-time job here in downtown San Francisco, and now he moved back home and he's pursuing his own passions right now. So he was one of the first people I thought of as well when we were talking about who we wanted to get on the podcast.
Yeah, and then another one we have tentative to be recorded is Professor Robin Rodriguez of UC Davis. She's an AAS, Asian American Studies professor at UC Davis. So we know her. I actually went to high school with her son, so we contacted her, and we're ready to record once this whole pandemic thing is over.
Yeah, she attended my Filipino graduation ceremony. And I actually didn't know that she was coming, so it was actually a surprise. And we both thought of her as well because of the fact that she does teach Asian American Studies. And like we said, we did want to focus on that with people of color and telling their story. Really excited about that. But what we also did want to mention was we're still trying to figure out like a stable place for us to record every time we record. As you guys can see, as you will see in the next couple episodes, it's all in like different places. And in this episode, we actually went to Sean's house to record there. And we went to a room that was like outside. And so you could hear planes flying over, and it's really annoying. We couldn't do anything about it. So those are probably the sounds that you're gonna be hearing. We couldn't avoid it. But still a great conversation.
Yeah, and lastly, we wanted to shout out our social medias. On Instagram, it's the Pursuit of Passion podcast, and on YouTube, it's the Pursuit of Passion project.
Right.
Anything else?
Yeah, we could shout out our own social medias if you guys want to follow us. My handle is at HiRayRay, HiRaeraE.
My handle is Irvin Ferrer, EARVINFERRER.
Great suffix, but mine is Hi Aries Hi, so just HiArieshi.
Nice. Cool.
Sweet, that does it for the intro. Enjoy episode 2.
Peace.
All right, y'all. Welcome to episode 4 of the Pursuit of Passion. Today we got my boy Sean Santos.
What's going on, everybody? Good to be here. Blessed to be here.
No, don't leave me hanging.
Oh shit! Oh man, I thought you were like pointing at me, man. Welcome.
Cool. So Sean is one of my homies from college. We met in our last semester, actually. We were a part of the Filipino graduation at San Francisco State. I was the finance director, and Sean was in charge of PR and all that. But yeah, so let's just get right into it. Sean, why don't let's start off with like where you grew up, and what else? Maybe like your relationship with your parents, and I know you have a brother, right?
Yeah, dude, yeah. So what's up, guys? What's going on? Name's Sean Santos. Born and raised in the Philippines. Moved out here to the United States in '97. I am 23 years old. So yeah, I'm young. But yeah, I grew up in Tracy. I do have an older brother, and I'm blessed to have both of my parents in my life. They are both still living in Tracy. I am now residing in Daly City, California. And it's good to be here.
Why don't you talk a little bit about so you have a passion for photography.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And where did that originally start? Was it like back in high school? Was it maybe back in your early years of college?
Word, yeah. So, growing up in Tracy, if the listeners aren't familiar with Tracy, California, it's the cow town of Central Valley, right? So we have the valley that's like towards like Los Angeles, Bakersfield area, but we also have the Central Valley up here in NorCal, right? So that's usually your Tracy, your Modesto, your Stockton, your Mountain House now, your Lathrop, your Manteca, so all the 209. So it's a lot of white people. And I'll cut straight to the chase. It's a lot of white people, and that in its own right, it's okay. But at the same time, I didn't really see a lot of myself growing up in middle school when I first immigrated out here. Even in high school, I spent a lot of time with a lot of white folks, a lot of Latino folks, a lot of black folks. Out of my graduating class, there was maybe only like 3 Filipinos and maybe 10 Asians. I went to a small high school in Tracy. It was like a private charter, and we didn't have no photography club. But I got into photography during high school, and the reason why was because of my background in youth ministry. And so I was really active in like the Catholic Church when I was growing up, and kind of still am to this day. But a lot of my like photographic love came from just capturing moments that mattered to people, and I saw myself every time I took a picture. Not like I was taking selfies or some shit, but I saw my people. I saw people that had a love either for their faith, a love for each other, a love for their families, and I was blessed to be introduced to capturing those moments via photography. There was this gentleman by the name of Kevin Cinco. He moved up to Seattle a couple years ago, actually to become like a lead like Starbucks barista dude. Anyways, yeah, he had a crazy background in photography, and I remember he let me hold his Nikon. I don't even remember what it was, but it was some Nikon DSLR with like a fisheye lens. And at the time, everybody's like skating, Thrasher was the shit, the hundreds was the shit. Everybody was fucking with this. And I was like, man, that's cool. I wanna take these videos. Then I realized I suck really bad at videos, but I could take a damn good photo. And so I remember him lending me his Nikon camera with a fisheye, and I walked around that day at this event that we were at, just taking pictures of everybody. And I was like, damn, this is fun. Not because I was getting the attention of people, but mainly because, people wanted a picture of themselves. And yeah, maybe that's narcissistic. Maybe, yeah, that's, a little fucked up. But ultimately, it was a memory. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making memories, no matter what type of memory it is, right? Good or bad. And so I think that's when I realized photography was something that I wanted to continue pursuing, and I really wanted to do. And that was about maybe sophomore year of high school. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I want to backtrack a little bit before we really dive deep into photography.
Word.
And I wanted to ask you, before that passion, before you found that,
Yeah.
what was were you thinking about anything else that you wanted to pursue or potentially pursue?
Shit, man, we're Filipino, man. We did everything. We tried to sing. We tried to play ukulele. We tried to do this. We tried to do that. But no, I grew up in a white town, homie. That shit was shut down real quick. So again, like I mentioned, I grew up in a pretty religious family, and my parents, not to say they were against photography or anything, but they were definitely against me and going out all the time. So I didn't really get a lot of exposure to skating or photography, or I didn't get exposed to none of that until way later. But something I did get exposed to when I was young was just music. And now if you're assuming that I learn or I know any musical instrument, you will be wrong. I do not have a lick of musical talent in my body. My brother took all of those genes. And so like I mentioned, I have an older brother. He can play the guitar, he can play the bass, he can play drums. He's a wedding singer, for Christ's sake. Like he does it big. So he took all those, all those passions away from me growing up. So I just watched him all the time. But there was a lot of power in watching my brother. Although I knew I couldn't sing, and I still can't sing, I could dance a little bit. And so I thought in my head, I was like, man, I'm gonna learn how to dance. And so I actually joined a dance team out in Tracy by the name of GTA, or Grind Time Academy. Shout out Desi DeMalo, I love you. We performed in Stockton all the time, and like Breakthrough. Breakthrough was this, kind of the valley. Yeah. People used to come out like from all over California, to Breakthrough, and it was in Stockton, and it really put Stockton on the map for like a bunch of b-boys, turfers, all that shit, man. So yeah, I performed that Breakthrough once, and that was it. But that was probably like my freshman, sophomore, and junior year of college. I spent a lot of time dancing because I thought I was hot shit, with the turfing and the dance battles and all that shit. We needed to put ourselves as Filipinos on the map doing something. I couldn't sing, I couldn't play the uke. All I could do was just move, and so I used my body as a way of self-expression. And with all the Latinos that were at my school, hella people know how like bone break and shit. I never could do that. And so, but the one thing I could do really well was like tut. And so I was like known as the guy that could tut all the time. But then I realized, like, what the fuck am I gonna do with tutting, man? like I'm gonna go to my job interview, shit, bro. I can do this. It's like, what was I gonna do for me? And so, yeah, my mom actually sat me down. She was like, Anak, I love you. But what is this? I was like, and that was the first time, that I really felt my mom shoot down my dreams, like Joe Coy said, Nah, just kidding. Like, my mom always supported me, but dance was one of those things where it's just like, you could do that at home. You could do that shit like at a party. But when it comes to like your work and what are you really gonna grind for, what are you really gonna express yourself in, is that it? And my parents knew from a young age of mine, like that's not it for you. And in those moments our parents do know best. Not to say that our parents don't support us, but yeah, they knew that wasn't my way of self-expression. And so my route changed.
Yeah, so going off of that and your relationship with your parents, you kind of talked about that. For me and Urban, like our relationship with our parents is very complicated. And so I kind of wanted to like go into that of like, how was that growing up? Were they like the forceful type of Filipino parents, trying to get you into, a career path or? Yeah,
so they're, especially being Filipino American, right? Emphasis on the American part, right? Because I'm a first generation. I was born in the Philippines, and so I immigrated here on behalf of my dad. I came here. I think I can say this on the podcast. I came here illegally. My whole bloodline didn't come here on real papers. Like my pops moved to South Africa for like a couple months, got fake paperwork in South African embassy, moved his ass to like Belize, that's in South America, got fake paperwork there just to get to California. And so, and he brought my whole bloodline, and fortunately my dad's name is Roberto. My last name is Santos. What the fuck is Mexican? He's basically Mexican. So, which is another reason why we ended up in the valley, like Tracy Stockton's, because my dad worked on a strawberry field in like 1984 to 85. And then in 1986, Ronald Reagan passed the Amnesty Act, which allowed any person that proved of economic worth or value to receive their green card, which is how my dad got his citizenship. Obviously, at this time, I was not born. I was not even a fucking idea. But my mom and my dad were together. They had a long-distance relationship when my dad came here in the mid-'80s, and my mom was still in the Philippines, hustling, getting her job. My mom was a phenomenal accountant. She got summa cum laude at her college. I forgot what university she went to in the Philippines, but my mother's a genius. And obviously at the time, this is like really post-Cold War, but this is post like civil rights movement, post TWLF. America felt like the right place to be because people were waking up, or so we thought. And so my dad brought my mother over, and then my mom was like, fuck this, I'm back. I'm going back to the Philippines. Went back to the Philippines because my mom didn't want to stay here. So they got married in the Philippines, had my brother a year later. My dad went back to America because he was like, America is it, honey.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be here. So my mom stayed raising my brother for 3 years alone without my dad, while my dad was like basically an OFW, right? If you guys don't know what OFW means, it's an overseas worker. So my dad worked continuously on the strawberry field. Not even like a good job, man. Like, he's working as a farmer. Still, even though he got his green card, that was all he had. You know, he picked up like Domino's jobs, 7-Eleven jobs, worked at the airport. You know what a lot of Filipinos did. And working at the airport was big because it meant cheaper flights. And so he took the time, you know, 3 years later, you know, to get back to my mom, had me, and then in 1997, we all came here together. And so I grew up in 408. I grew up in San Jose, actually, when I first immigrated out here, in a fucking tiny ass, like, I don't even know, what do you call it, single story bungalows, right? Tiny ass bungalow in San Jose, east side. So yeah, from there, my relationship, obviously, I'm a fucking child, but I wasn't raised by my parents. I was raised by my Lola, which a lot of Filipino kids are when, you know, as immigrants, because your parents are working, your parents are hustling. And so my mom was working, my dad was working. He went back to school to get a tech job, like a technical job, not what we know as tech jobs now, but like an actual technical job. And so he was working at Domino's while going to school, while doing trade work. And so my mom ended up having to quit her job as an accountant. And when she first moved here from the Philippines, they were able to get a transfer and everything. Obviously, she had to leave to raise me and my brother because my Lola couldn't stay because she was on like a fake visa or whatever. Yeah, my family didn't do shit clean. So she got sent back. So my mom quit. And so I grew up with my dad out of the picture mainly because he was working. And I didn't understand that until probably like high school. I understood why my dad wasn't in the picture most of the time growing up. But my family was really, you know, heavy on community in the church. Not really community anywhere else, just community in the church. So I have cousins, you know, I got a lot of cousins, we all Filipino, right? But I didn't grow up with my cousins that much. Even though we all lived in the same house, my dad wasn't really the closest with the siblings because he was the one that brought everybody here. And everybody else went to school when my dad was working. And so there was a level of bitterness that my dad held against all of his siblings because everybody was able to go to school. One of my titas went to Berkeley, then she went to UCLA, and all the funds were paid for out of my dad's pocket. One of my uncles became like a pilot for a little bit, then he just went like full-time bus driver, and he fucking got paid for it by the government. My other tita, who just recently opened up her clinic in ABC Dental in Union City, like as an orthodontist, like fucking because of my dad, right? All these things. And so my dad definitely worked his ass off for his family. And growing up, I didn't see that. And so I had a lot of resentment towards my dad because all I remember is my dad telling me, Anak, we're going to go to church. Anak, we're going to go to church. And that's all I remember him as. Like this guy that I see on Sundays telling me I'm going to, you know, get ready for church in the mornings and go.
Yeah.
And so there was a little resentment towards my dad. Obviously, you know, it's my pops. I loved him. You know, he did what he could when we were young. But the only person I really had was my older brother. And so me and my brother, you know, developed a really good relationship. You know, as kids, just playing basketball all the time, you know, playing with fucking like G.I. Joe action figures or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever. You know, we were kids. Of course, you're going to play with whatever you got. And we were fortunate to even have those toys. But again, those toys only existed in my life because my parents worked hard just to give us something because they knew they came here with nothing. And so growing up, I didn't really have the best relationship with my parents. And then obviously, you know, elementary school, like after that era, you know, and then middle school hit, you know, puberty or whatever that meant. Like I started developing like a love for my parents and understanding like, man, like I wouldn't be here without them. Right? So, yeah, I got really active into like church and youth work because of my parents, and that really like bonded us together. My parents were really active in this ministry called Couples for Christ. And so I grew up in that ministry, and, you know, I met a lot of friends, like lifelong friends in that space. Even though we're not active anymore in that space, at least I'm not, my parents still are. Just goes to show like community has always been a part of my bloodline. And yeah, my parents definitely instilled that in me and taught me that. So I call my dad even to this day, probably like once every day, maybe 2 times a day, because I want to hear his voice. You know, we don't have our parents forever, and I understand that now. Even at 23, you know, some people it takes them their whole lifetime, right? And I'm not willing to take that chance. You know, I call my mom just because her and I work weird hours, so I can't really call her all the time. So I call her probably like once every Sunday, just to hear her voice. And my mom she's actually in the Philippines right now. We flew her out to see her older brother, who's pretty ill. So, you know, again, it's always about the community, always about the family, and so you gotta do what you can, even if that means going home. So, and being away from other parts of your family. But yeah.
So, I wanted you to touch on this briefly.
Sure.
But speaking about community and specifically your religion, and
Sure.
something that I've always looked up to you for was you're not afraid to talk about calling people out. And,
Oh yeah.
And I know one of your Instagram stories was about that Catholic church burning down.
Oh yeah, the
Right.
Notre Dame.
And I know there was a lot of controversy about that.
Yeah.
All right, we were just talking about what religion means to you, your whole viewpoint on that church burning down.
Sure, yeah. So what does religion mean to me, man? I've already talked a little bit about my upbringing in like youth ministry work. I spent a lot of time in churches. Churches from like all throughout California. I spent a lot of my time like giving talks about who is Jesus Christ to me, what does God's love mean to me, right? But I was doing all these things, now looking back, you know, for the sake of like instant gratification, because I was on a mic, and I've always been somebody that's been on a mic. Even in high school, I was my high school MC. I was in leadership. I did all that shit, and so being on the mic outside of school was like dope. You know, like I thought I was hot shit. And even being in like in a church setting, I still thought I was hot shit. You know, talking about Jesus, this person that a lot of people, you know, look up to, obviously, and pray to, you know, and I fully respect that. But at this point in my life, what does religion mean to me? It just means, you know, this relationship and this interconnectedness with faith. And faith can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different types of people. Yeah, I am still Catholic. I still believe in a lot of the Catholic teachings, but there are definitely some things as an institution that I do not agree with, and that falls into like the 4 eyes of oppression. You know, I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother lesson. But that's like ideological oppression, interpersonal oppression, institutional oppressions, right? And so I'm missing one, but those are the 3 that the church really like emphasize on. It's like this idea of God saved you. Be thankful. You could be thankful by showing up to church every Sunday. And if you don't, you're going to hell. Obviously, that's a really generic way of looking at it. And that is in itself a terrible argument that a lot of people make. Is it valid? Sure, to an extent. But if you're not digging deep to the root of these ideological oppressions, or, you know, the root of like colonization, which is what the church used a lot, especially for Spain. There's a reason why most Filipinos are Catholic and not their indigenous religions or not Islamic. Because of Spain, right? It's this idea of colonization, Western colonization, and introducing the church and using that as a way and a means to infiltrate and teach people about Western ideologies or Christ, right? Or the church. So I know all those things now. And that makes my identity as a Catholic that much more confusing. Because do I believe in a higher power? Of course I do. We wouldn't be here without a purpose, right? Do I find a little bit more solitude and grace knowing that there's somebody out there, or there might be somebody out there, some person in this universe, you know, watching over me and my family? Of course I'd like to believe that. I'd love to, and I want to, and I do, because it helps me sleep at night. You know, we gravitate towards the things that help us move forward, you know, and for me that just happens to be my faith. And so when I saw, you know, the Notre Dame fall and burn, and I saw all these people saying, yeah, fuck the church, yeah, fuck this, you know, fuck the institution, all these things. Oh man, I felt that. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I was with them. But then I thought of my mom, and I thought of my dad, and I thought about all the people in my life that I know are saints that would never wish any ill will upon anybody. And I thought about them that believe in that church. Not Notre Dame as a place, but the idea of it being, you know, a place for the broken. Like, imagine watching a hospital burn and being thankful. You know, like that there's a level of brutality and disgust in there for me because I know for a fact my parents would never wish that upon anybody else. Are there Catholics and Christians and other religious people that wish that upon other people? Yes, there are. Is that fucked up? Of course it is. But the reality is, if we step down to their level all the time, then we are no better than the next. And if we're just going to be, this millennial mentality is to constantly be ready to fight. Sorry, that was probably louder there. But yeah, to be ready to fight. And man, that is a beautiful thing. We, as one, like our generation was taught by our parents, especially as, children of immigrants, like, to fight. If it's not ours, take it. Right? But the thing is, do you know why you're taking it? Do you know who you're taking it from? Like, we were so colonized in the head that we have colonial mentality in our own minds, I'm gonna shout out EGR David. Shout out. But yeah, colonial mentality, man. Like, we were so brainwashed in our heads that we need to, because we were colonized, that we need to colonize something else. We need to take over something else. And so for a lot of people, it's religion took this away from me. I'm gonna take it back, no matter what that means. But it's like, no matter what that means, then you were hurting people along the way.
Right.
Like, is that really your justice? Is that your level of social justice that you learn in college? I don't know. You spent so much time in college, hearing about like the brutality of the church, and that, man, it's all real. But if we're gonna talk about the brutality of it, shouldn't we talk about the beauty of it too, and the goodness that is there? But even at that, we bring up more modern things like Moms for Housing in Oakland, right? And those women, they called out Catholic Charities because it's real. Catholic Charities allows homeless people to come into their space for only 6 months. After that 6 months, they kick your ass out. Like, yeah, it's a place for the broken for 6 months. And then it's like, what else am I supposed to do? Did they give you a place to stay? Yeah. Did they do enough? Probably not. Do you have every right to be mad? Of course you do. This, like, me saying all these things isn't to invalidate that argument that the church is bad. But it's to make sure that we don't invalidate, the people that see the church as good, Obviously, all of our spaces should be educational and challenging, And without the challenge, then we're not growing. And that's the one thing that, like, I know that the church needs right now. And for me to just give up on the church is to give up on my family, to give up on my community that I grew up with. Do I hear my uncles and my aunties, saying out-of-pocket shit? Pfft, man, all the time.
Yeah.
Does that mean I won't call them out? Hell no, I call their ass out all the time. You so proud to vote for Donald Trump because he's pro-life? Right, okay. But we sending how many dozens of kids out to war? And we're choosing, which communities to bring into, your warmongering? Like, is that really pro-life when you still pro-gun? Like, I don't know. So there's a lot of weird spaces in being Catholic, especially in today's age, especially being Filipino.
Yeah. Did you feel like when you were younger that you were forced into religion, or did you go into it like, super willing and?
Again, I love my mom and dad, and I have a beautiful relationship with them now. And I'm very fortunate to say that I never felt forced. Because my parents knew how to properly communicate what it meant to be faithful, period. Not faithful to a God, not faithful to the church, but faithful. Faithful to a community, faithful to your family. And it just so happened for me, it evolved into this idea of religion and the church, and seeing, the goodness of what it can do. Because there's definitely a lot of bad that it does too, right? And I'm sure you guys heard about all that shit that happened in the East Coast with, all those priests raping those kids.
Right.
Like, how do you stand by that? Well, it's the same way that people, are still Democrats but still vote for other shit. It's like, it's not black and white.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, there's gonna be this weird gray area, and it fucking sucks. But the best we can do is just work on ourselves and focus on what we can do to serve our communities, to serve our people, whether it's serving our church or serving our job, whatever it is, serving our nonprofit organization. Like, it's about this idea of service. And so, did I feel forced? No. Do I know that there are people in this world that get forced all the time and literally killed for it? Yes. And it hurts to say that out loud. Because I wish it wasn't like that. Nobody wishes it was like that, but it is.
Yeah.
So what can we do to make it better, right?
Yeah. Are you still practicing your faith today?
Oh,
Are you still
man.
actively going to church and
Today is Sunday, March 8th. It is International Women's Day. It is Sunday, which means it is the Lord's Day. Did I go to church this morning? No. I didn't go to church this morning. Because I haven't been to church since Christmas. Because it made my mom happy. It is hard to walk into a place, like I said, knowing full well that there are other people sitting in that church that have hatred towards people of color, that have hatred towards brown bodies, that have hatred towards LGBTQIA people. It is hard to sit in the same pew and pray to this God where everybody says he's all loving, except for you. So it's hard. Obviously, is it wrong for me to not be going to church? According to the church's standards, yes, it is wrong. Do I go to confession regularly? I do. And every time I gotta confess that I didn't go to church. But, I don't know, it's the path that I've chosen. Is it the path that's right? Fuck, I don't know. But it's the path I got. And it's the path I'm willing to walk. And I can walk in my capacity.
Yeah.
And I don't have anybody breathing down my neck anymore, waking me up at fucking 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And now, get ready, we're going to church. I don't deal with that. Do my parents go to church every Sunday? Oh hell yeah, they do. Does my brother? Yeah, my older brother's a youth minister. That's his job.
Really?
He's a he works for the church in Folsom for a whole bunch of white kids.
Oh damn.
Does he love his job? Yeah. He does. And I can't knock him for that.
Yeah.
Because he's teaching kids born out of privilege. Is that their fault? No. Is my brother telling them about their privilege? Oh yeah. My brother's not stupid. My brother's pretty woke on that shit. So he knows where to check kids when they need to be checked. Because we didn't grow up with that. And yeah.
Speaking about teaching kids, Sean was actually involved and is still involved in the Filipino American community. We wanted to touch upon your involvement in PEP, like what is it for the viewers watching, and also like how it shaped you as like a college student.
Sure, yeah. So PEP, oh man, fun thing about PEP. PEP stands for Pinoy Pinay Educational Partnerships. It is essentially a internship program where college students are able to teach the youth, that youth varying ages from K through 12. We teach in the SFSUSD school district at Longfellow Elementary School, Denman Middle School, Balboa, and Burden High School. This past year, or at least in 2019, I taught at Burden High School in the Bayview. And this year, I am teaching at Balboa High School in the Excelsior. So, a little bit about PEP. Again, I said that it's kind of this educational program for the youth. We don't just teach any class. We're not just teaching like English or something. We teach Filipino American Studies. That title will vary per classroom, obviously, because it is considered an elective course for the high schools that I've taught at. And then it will vary, obviously, for K through 5 and 5 through 8, or K through 4. Yeah, there we go. That's the math. We essentially teach the general idea of Filipino American Studies, and we create our own syllabi, and we teach students of color about people of color, and it's a beautiful thing, because growing up in Tracy, I didn't have that. And so I got introduced to PEP in... What year is it? 2020? Fall of 2018, I got introduced to PEP. And I was like, man, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that.
Yeah.
You got to show up to another school and teach a whole bunch of, juniors and seniors about what? Of course, that's like, it sounds dope, hypothetically, but then you got to realize, like, do you remember what you were like as a junior and senior in high school? Dude, I was a dick. I was a dick. Like, man. And I have to teach kids that are like me.
Yeah.
Then I gotta remind myself, I was a dick because I wasn't Tracy. Like these students here, they're different kinds of assholes, Are they good students? Fuck, dude, these students are so intelligent. So intelligent. Because of the diversity that they have, you know. And at Burden High School, it's in not a more privileged, but, you know, more middle class school, lower middle. And so we definitely have, and we were teaching fifth period. So it was right after lunch. Of course, students are going to show up to class. I had maybe 32 students at Burden High School. But at Bow, where I'm teaching now, I got 14 students. Because I'm a first period elective class in one of the lowest income neighborhoods in San Francisco, in the Excelsior. I have to remind myself every day that it's not personal, that my students don't show up to class. I have 14 students sign up on the roster, and I have 7 students that show up every day. I gotta remind myself again that it's not personal. You know, when we're teaching our brown youth that they matter, and if I just get mad at them all the time for coming in late, is that showing, you know, them that I love them, that I care for them, that they matter? I don't know. There's this weird, you know, dialogue that's happening there internally for myself as an educator. Right? And so, you know, backtracking to PEP and how I was introduced, I didn't want to do it because I couldn't face myself. A little bit more backstory of my family. My mom's entire side of her family are educators. My Lola was an educator. She was a teacher. All of my mom's sisters are teachers. All of their husbands are professors. I grew up, you know, in another country away from that. I grew up away from my family in the Philippines, from my mom's side of the family. But I do remember seeing the letters. I remember those calling cards that my mom would buy just so they would have my tita, my tito call me and tell me, hey, you better be doing good in school, you know, because you got one shot, blah, blah, all this shit. I was getting those lectures from people across the fucking world. Yeah. I wasn't even getting that shit from my parents. Yeah. And so growing up, I was like, dude, teachers are assholes. Yeah. They're literally calling me a world away just to tell me to finish my homework. Isn't it fucking like 2 a.m. over there? Why are you calling me? It's because we were blessed to be here. We're blessed with the privilege to be here. And I took that for granted. And now looking back at like how ironic it is that I am now an educator. It's so funny. And I told my family in the Philippines that I teach Filipino American studies now. And obviously the culture is so much different there than it is here. Right. What it means to be Filipino is very different to what it means to be Filipino American right now. At least right now. And the things that I teach don't matter to a lot of kids back at home. The things that they teach don't matter to us. It's very different now. We have to recognize that every community is different. And the most important thing to remind ourselves is, well, I have the community I have with me now. I have the students that I'm teaching now. Like, let's get to work. Like, what can I do to make these students feel seen? To make them feel like they matter. And that's kind of what PEP does. It makes students matter. Not to say that, you know, the SFUSD doesn't do that. It's not to say that the education system as a whole, doesn't do that. But, you know, it's important to call it out when it's not working. And PEP is something that I think works because it gives students the opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And I'm very thankful to even be considered an educator. This past Friday, I actually shot for the Youth Wellness Summit for the Community Responsive Educational Panel. That sounds like a lot of words. Essentially, it was a whole bunch of phenomenal scholars in social justice, social equity, ethnic studies coming together. There's maybe closer to about 30 heads, all professors, like Dr. Kevin Nadal, Dr. A.J.R. Ramos, Dr. Jeff Duncan Andrade, you know, really big names. Dr. Alison Tintiago Cubales, like all these names that contribute heavily to ethnic studies programs and to our education system as a whole. They were all there, and I had the opportunity of a lifetime to photograph and document that event. And you know, I was able to blend my passion as a photographer and my passion as an educator together and learn from these wonderful minds. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity without my skills as an educator and my skills as a photographer. So
Yeah, I wanna backtrack a little bit and ask you about how did you become knowledgeable of Filipino American studies and yeah, where did that come from?
Because you're an AAS minor, right?
I got it. So got my BA in communication studies with an emphasis in marketing, and my minor in Asian American studies. So I gotta backtrack a little bit. In high school, I did not join any Filipino clubs because there were no Filipinos. I did not do Kalusan or whatever they had in the valley. I didn't do none of that shit. I went to Essa State because I wanted to be in San Francisco. I did not go to Essa State because they had the first ethnic studies program or the first Asian American studies classes or Filipino American studies. I did not go for that reason. Yeah. I had no fucking clue that shit existed. Let me say that first.
Honestly, me too. Same. So,
no idea.
Yeah.
When I was signing up for classes and I saw Asian American studies, I was like, what? I call bullshit. Like, it's fake. It's a white dude teaching it.
Yeah.
And then I walked in that class and it was Russell Jung, the fucking department head, teaching that class.
Russell Jung.
And I was like, man, this motherfucker look Asian as hell. Super racist! And that was freshman year of college, Sean Santos. Man, I was a dick freshman and sophomore year. And I made it a point to not join PACE. I made it a point to not do PCN because I just saw a whole bunch of other people that looked like me that were just so loud and talkative.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. And I remember my good friend, Sarah Francisco, who was also in the same youth ministry as me. She also went to Essa State. We went to Essa State together. And she was like, Sean, we should go to PACE, go to open night, just do it. Fine. So we went to open night. This is freshman year, so backtrack a little bit. Freshman year of college, we went to PACE open night. Or whatever they call it, open house. Or, we went. I just saw a whole bunch of people that looked like me, and internally I was like, man, this is fucking dope. But I couldn't show that. I couldn't show that because I was hard as fuck. I was like, man, I'm dope as fuck. I'm too cool for this. Man, there are too many people like me. I thought I was different. Because in Tracy, I was different.
Yeah.
In Tracy, I was the only Filipino kid. I was the only cool kid that could still cut, that took pictures. I was that kid. Then I walked into space and there's 100+ people that look like me. Fuck. So, yeah, I blocked myself from that community because I thought I was better than that. I thought that I didn't need my cultural heritage because I already struggled as an immigrant. I don't need to keep talking about my story. I saw my parents struggle as immigrants. I don't need to keep talking about it because it just continues this idea of sadness. And it doesn't push this idea of grace. Or so I thought, right? And so, yeah, Asian American Studies, man. I ended up taking, it's funny, I kept talking shit about PACE and all this shit. And every semester at SO State, I took an Asian American Studies class.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's pretty cool, I guess. Fuck it. One more's fine. Asian Americans in media? Shit, that's pretty cool. Take that. And then one of my friends that I met in a communication studies class by the name of Nancy Zambao told me about PEP. I was like, that's pretty cool. I guess. Educators? And again, at the time, fuck teachers. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to get my degree in communication studies and fucking make money in tech. That's what I want to do. And then I signed up for Ata Allison's AS 352 class, Filipino American Identities. And I found out that she was the director of this PEP or whatever. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I might as well take the class, right? And that class fucking shook me. Mm-hmm. And it destroyed me. Because it broke everything that I thought that I knew about my cultural identity. And everything that I thought, mattered to me, like in terms of my faith, my religion, and my identity as a Catholic, all of it was just shattered. I was like, holy fuck, the only reason why I am this way is because of colonization. Because of colonial mentality. Like, because of all of these traumas and soul wounds that our people experience. And that was only induced because of the church. Like my head was like, oh my God, this class is fucking crazy. It's blowing my mind. And so from there, I don't know how to explain this without it getting or sounding weird. Like I fell in love with myself in that class. Because it was the first time ever that I saw myself in that class. Truly. Beyond like the freshman year of college pace and PCN and hearing all these things and dancing and song and ukuleles or whatever. Like beyond the surface level shit, I saw my trauma. I saw my pain. I cried in that class multiple times. That was a fucking 3-hour long class on a Wednesday night. And I kept hearing this idea of pep. Like, oh man. So the class started at 4:10, ended at 7 something. Or whatever the 3-hour bracket is, block time is at the state. And all the other people that were in pep in that class would always leave on time and walk without the house. And I was just like, I wonder where the fuck they're going. That's cool, I guess. You know, they get to hang out after. Again, I'm not in pace or didn't do a fam thing or whatever. And during this time, I was going through a breakup. And I didn't know what community was anymore. Because my only community was my partner at the time. So it was strange for me entering this new world, of my cultural identity, even though I have always worn this skin. It was still new to me. And I felt like I was a new person because I felt seen, I felt heard, and I saw myself beyond just dancing or photography. I saw, Sean Santos. And I wanted to follow those people that were following Allison, or Dr. Allison, or Ata Allison. Because she knew something that I didn't know, and I wanted to know what that was. And so my journey into Asian American Studies began there. And at this time, obviously, I was already wrapping up my college units at SF State. But I made it a point to keep taking Asian American Studies classes. And I was already far past the minor, the amount of units you need for Asian American Studies minor. I almost double majored in it. But I wanted to know more. And yeah, the best way to learn something is to hear you say it out loud, like to repeat it, right? And so teaching Asian American Studies and teaching Filipino American Studies makes me remember it, and it keeps the history alive, it keeps the legacy alive. And if, I was 20 years old at the time, 21 or whatever, and I had just learned about my cultural identity, if I could change the life of that one student who gives zero fucks about his cultural identity, who just got displaced in his home in the Excelsior because he got gentrified out, if I could change his life somehow by telling him that he matters and that he feels seen, fuck it, I'll do it. Yeah. And so I went from this idea of pursuing this tech career and I want money to shit, I still want the money, but I want to give that money elsewhere, bro. I want to change that shit. I want to do policy change. I want to fuck that shit up. Because it's bullshit right now, why the fuck do teachers need to get paid less now just to provide for the students more? It's very strange. So I want to change that. And yeah, that's why my journey in Asian American Studies is where it is today. Because I want to change.
Yeah, clearly, dude. It's awesome to see the passion that's coming from you, seeing the change from of you having this whole fuck Asian American Studies mentality of man, I'm all about it,
Oh, it was so strange.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask you, I mean, now that you've dabbled into being an educator, do you see yourself pursuing that further than you are right now?
God, don't. Before Sean answers, let's check the camera.
Check the camera. Okay. Break. Yeah.
Yeah. So going off of the whole thing of do I want to be an educator? It's crazy. In my bio on almost every single one of my social media platforms, even on my website, it's plastered all over it. It's student, educator, creator. I'm a student of life. I educate, obviously, students, but I also educate beyond that. We school people every day, right? In whatever context that means, we are educating people. We are sharing ideals, whatever, to people every day. So yes, I am. Outside of this space, am I still an educator? Yes, I am. And I am a creator, because I'm a photographer. So do I want to be an educator? At some point in my life, yes. Oh God, I want to. Right now, no. Because I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot to do in my life before I can fully commit myself to, to the entire world that is education.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to change. And before I get there, before I fucking shake shit up, I want to make sure that I'm right here, Like I'm right in the mind. Excuse me. Like I want to make sure I'm ready. And that might take, a couple of years. But I do, at some point in my life, I do want to become an educator. Do I want to teach ethnic studies? I don't know. Or do I want to teach social justice? I don't know. I just know I want to be the educator that I know I didn't have growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope.
Cool. Let's kind of transition into where you're at now. I know you have like a dope ass portfolio. You have your own website. Let's talk about your photography, what you're pursuing now in terms of that. And then we'll go into a little bit about what you think about the photography world today, like setting your own rates. I know back when we were in Philgrad, we were talking a lot about like homies hitting you up for like a cheap price, but you gotta stay prideful and set your own price.
Yeah. Oh god, so much fun. Wait, so talking about photography?
Yeah, like what are you doing now?
What do I do now? So I'll talk about peak design.
Yeah.
Use this time. Sure. All right. Yeah. So right now I work at considered a startup company in San Francisco called Peak Design. We kind of sell like backpacks, camera straps, travel bags, like pretty cool shit. And I work in their retail store, but I also do a lot of product photography and lifestyle photography for the company. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to use my hobbies and my passions as a photographer in my job now, in my career path right now. So that's it about Peak Design, but mainly on my journey as a photographer. I've been shooting what I like to call like professionally shooting now for the past, let's say like 3 years. I took upon myself to really pursue like wedding photography, event photography, portrait photography, all the likes, not likes on like Instagram, but like, the different mediums of what it means to be a photographer, right? And so there are a lot of different mediums, right? So you could be like a landscape photographer, you could be a portrait photographer, you could be a studio photographer, you could be a product photographer. There's so many different types of avenues one can take, and I think I'm in this weird point in my career right now where I do too much. Clearly, like I'm a student, educator, creator. Yeah, that means something cool, but I teach in the morning and then I work at Peak Design during the day and then I shoot a club event at night. Yeah. What the fuck is my identity, yo? Like, what am I really doing? And so I've been struggling this past year of 2019 of really trying to get my photography business going. And fuck, do I even want to do this thing anymore? Like there are so many other creatives out there that deserve the spotlight. Then there are a whole bunch of other creators out there that just pick up a 35mm film camera and think they're hot shit. Because they bought a Kodak Portra 400 and they can develop it on their own, or can't even develop on their own. Yeah. And that's not to downplay the sacrifices or the successes, but it's to make sure like, yo, humble yourself. And I think that's the one thing that's really missing, even in myself, in the photography game, or the realm of photography right now. It's like this idea of humility, because we post all of our work. We have to. Right. It's our duty as artists to capture things. But if you don't share it, did it happen? You guys, I'm sure you guys have heard that before. Like, if it ain't on Snapchat or if it ain't on the gram, like it didn't happen. You didn't take a picture of it, no pic, didn't happen. Right? All that shit. So that's even more true for a photographer. Like if you said like, hey man, I just shot Miles Medina, but you have no photos of Miles, then what the fuck did you do? Right. So it's this weird like dialectic of creating but being humble, but showing your work off but being humble. It's just like, how do you balance that? But if you're so caught up in this idea of like, fuck, I want to make sure that like I'm not overstepping my bounds, I want to make sure I still get enough likes or whatever for my ratios, like, and you fucked up. That's what that means. You fucked up because you're caught up on the wrong things. You're caught up in this idea of just creating for attention versus just creating to capture and solidify, make memories. And so I love to talk about my photography as a gift, right? The reason why is because if you think about photography on a metaphysical level, it is the literal compression of both time and space. If any of the listeners are high as fuck right now, that might just sound crazy, but let me explain. Like, so if I have with me a camera right now, so if I were to take a picture of Irvin right now, I just made a moment in time. Oh God, oh again, oh another photographer saying, oh I make memories, I capture moments, whatever. Fuck, we heard it all before, and that's fine. Because there are photographers that talk like that, and that's totally okay. But what makes you different? Talking about your work, displaying your work, making people feel your work. For me, I talk about my work in the way that it makes me feel. Maybe not you, but I myself, I'll say it straight. I'm a time traveler, man. Because every time I take a photo and I look back at it, I go back in time and I remember that moment when I took it. So I just don't take pictures just for the sake of it. But that's everybody that looks at a photo, right? So when you make prints, when you make digital scans of your film or whatever it is, like you literally took a moment in time with light, because light goes through your sensor on your camera or your iPhone or whatever it is. It goes through the sensor and you flatten that image and you make it either digital or physical, and you can give that to somebody. Anything that you give to somebody else is what? A gift. Mm-hmm. What I do as a photographer is one, of course, time travel, because shit, I'm dope. But I give gifts. I give gifts to people, beyond the shutter, beyond the editing. I am a gift giver. Don't call me Santa Claus. Please don't do that. But every photographer has the potential to just give gifts to people. And I think that's the one thing that's missing. It's this ability to talk about their work and making people happy. Like, yeah, I could pop off a couple shots at an event, call it a day, people post on Instagram, get 1,000 likes, fuck it, whatever. But ultimately, you're capturing a moment for this DJ or this party or whatever it is because people were happy then. It's weird because I've been asked in the past to shoot funerals even, because those are still memories. Those are still moments that need to be captured. And it's still a gift. Yeah, so again, a photograph is the literal compression of both time, because it's a moment in time, and space, because it's this space right here that I'm collecting, and I'm flattening it and giving it to somebody. There's power in that,
Yeah.
And I think that's dope. Really fucking dope. And I get to do that every day if I wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, when you first got started, I'm sure, started professionally, right? I'm sure it wasn't all a piece of cake. Right?
Oh, God,
and so, I wanted to ask about, how did you go about, okay, I'm going to do this professionally, right?
Okay.
Well, how did that go? What would you have done differently? What would be, some advice that you'd give to someone who wants to go professional?
Barriers to entry.
Sure. Well, first of all, I wouldn't do anything differently. If you're on a path right now, change it for the better, but don't change it because you think it's bad. Just keep going. I think that's the first step. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that vlog everything that they do because they think, what they have to say is important, and it is. Everything that we have to say in this world is important. But if you're just doing it for the likes and you're doing it for the, the subs or please comment, like, and subscribe, whatever, fuck that shit, dude. I get it, you want to help somebody else, but you help them by reaching out. You help them by giving people a platform, right? You help people by building community so people can work together, right? I get it, there's only one person behind the camera at the time, but there are thousands of eyes looking at it at the end of the day. What matters more? So, starting my photography business was not easy. It still is not easy, and I don't think it'll ever get to the point where I will just breeze by, and I'm okay with that. Because I don't want this feeling of blood, sweat, and tears to end. You can't, because then you get complacent and you feel like everybody else. So I want to struggle. I want to be mad. I want to be mad that I didn't get the gig. I want to be mad that my photo didn't pop off or I got the lighting wrong. I want to be mad because if I don't get those emotions, then I'm not growing. Okay. And so my tip to newer artists of any medium, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to doubt your work, But if you're putting that same amount of doubt into your work, you better put that same amount of faithfulness, the same amount of love, the same amount of passion in that shit. Because if you don't, it means nothing. it means nothing. Because if you're not working for it, then I don't know what you're doing it for.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's my tip. Just you have to keep going. Like, you can't stop shooting. Like, I get it. Like, people want to take breaks from photography or whatever. Like, I've definitely had my fair share of wanting to do that, but I never could. Because the moment you stop shooting, that's the moment you stop making shit for other people. It's the moment you stop giving gifts to other people. It's when you stop creating memories. Like, and isn't that the point of our work? Like, if you lose that idea, then fuck, again, you're not doing it for anything else. Like, we do this for the sake of making people happy, yo. And making people feel something or some type of way. Like, yeah, like, I guess that's one thing I wish I knew when I started, was to remember, why am I doing this? Because, again, at first, like, you know, with that Nikon camera that I got my friend Kevin and that, you know, fisheye lens, like, I thought I was hot shit because I was making memories for people and I was making people happy, but I really got collected in this idea of, oh shit, dude, I could post this on Instagram later. You know, I was gonna get, at the time, maybe like 50 likes, all shit, right? Obviously, everybody got to go through that. Like, I'm not gonna discredit that from people. Everybody got to go through that phase. But shit, if you could skip that phase, skip the phase, yo. Like, really skip it, because it wastes a lot of time. And that's the one thing in this work that, you know, we don't really have a lot of, because there are tons of us. There are tons of people creating content, and I think that's dope. But, you know, you can only take pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge so many times. You feel me? You could take so many pictures of, you know, Lombard Street so many times, right?
Yeah.
So how do you make it different? You know, or why are you shooting it? You know, are you shooting it because other people did it? You know, or are you shooting for yourself? And people could tell. People can always tell.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like a professional in that medium. Even to this day, I don't really consider myself a professional. Like, I just consider myself as a photographer, man. Like, there's beauty in that. And, like, there's a lot of fun in just calling yourself a photographer, you know. Obviously, you get those looks of just, oh, my God, he's another Instagram photographer and all that shit. But then, and that's okay. Let them think. Let them talk, they talk, you know. And that's all right. Because the moment, again, you start dwelling on other people's words, you lose sight of your game. You lose sight of what you're doing. So, yeah, that's it.
Continuing off that, what to you is like the most gratifying thing of photography? Like, is it when you're at the actual event? Is it showing people the photos? Is it, because you shot some pretty crazy photos. We'll link his Instagram and portfolio in the bio, but
Thanks, guys.
yeah, like you shot DJ Spicy, who is our guest next week.
Word.
What's your favorite part of photography?
Oh, God, dude. It's so much. I can't say all of it because that's cliche, but I think I'm going to say two different things. I think being there and talking to people and capturing those moments is one, because you're communicating, and as a communications major, that's what I fucking do. I talk out of my ass all the time, so I'm sorry if I talk too much. That's one. Two is delivering the photos. Not necessarily getting the feedback, but just giving it to them. And seeing them happy is what I live for. Like, as an artist, it's, again, because I made them feel something. Yeah. And obviously I don't want to ever give photos to somebody and they feel upset, but I want to make sure that they feel seen. And that's the biggest thing in what we do. I am literally taking a picture of your face. Like, cool, I can edit out pimples, or I can straighten your teeth or whatever, but it's no longer you. Not to say, like, I don't Photoshop or I don't, spot correct or whatever. Of course, we do that. But, like, I don't fake this shit, Like, I want to take a picture of somebody so they see themselves. And fuck, that's so cliche, but god damn it, like, if that's not the point, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, we take pictures of these folks so they see themselves, And I love the act of taking the photo because people are either really awkward or really comfortable, and it's great both times. But giving them the phone in the end is always fun because you'll get the same reaction every time.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's me. And there's a lot of people in this world that, yeah, fuck, we got our iPhones or whatever. We can take cool photos now, but, like, it's different, yo. When you get a picture taken by a photographer. And that's why, like, I have a select group in my friends select group of my friends that when they take a photo of me, I'm happy because fuck, dude, I'm seen. Like, that is me. Sometimes I look hella catfish, you know. I don't look as like chubby, but it's like those moments that you could feel good, you know, feel proud of yourself and your identity of like how you look.
Yeah.
And is that narcissistic? Fuck it. Again, I said that in the beginning. Fuck it. But at the same time, you gotta love yourself, man. And that's what photography can do for some people. You know, you can make them love themselves, and so I think that's my favorite. If I were to combine those two, it's this idea of letting people love themselves.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have a specific favorite memory of photography that like stands out?
Our favorite photo.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna say two. My favorite photo I took of my brother in Marin Headlands, like Easter Sunday morning. My family does this thing with like their church or our church, where we go like crabbing and stuff in Chrissy Fields. And I took my own car that day because I knew we were gonna get there hella early. I was like, bro, I'm gonna go to Marin Headlands. It's gonna be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
So I drove out to Marin Headlands with my brother, and my brother's never been there. My brother doesn't really go to San Francisco. He lives in Sacramento, so he visits me, but we never really go that far up. And so we went, and it's maybe like 5:30 in the morning. It's not that early, but it's early enough to be like groggy. You know, we get up to the top of the hill, we find parking. You know, we're walking. It's fucking cold as shit, and we're walking down the hill, and the fog clears, and you know, you see the bridge, and fuck, I said it already earlier in the podcast, like everybody takes a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. But this was just shortly after me and my partner at the time had broken up. And so that moment meant a lot to me because my brother, who didn't have to leave that early with me, who didn't have to walk out of the car with me, you know, walked with me. And I had my camera in my bag still, but we just stood there and we watched the fog roll. And my brother walked down a little bit more, and I got this photo of my brother. It's definitely not the best photo that I've taken, but it's definitely my favorite because I got a picture of somebody that supported me my entire life, and yeah, I got this picture of this person that supported me my entire life, and yeah, it was that's probably one of my favorite moments in photography. One of them, the other one was a wedding that I just shot last August for my good friends Jan and Janessa. They've been together for I don't know, like 6+ years, 7+ years, and they asked me to photograph their wedding. It's funny because they actually asked somebody else to shoot their wedding. That person ended up getting called to Europe to do like a photography thing, like a photography doc. So it was like a big deal for them. And Jane and Janessa were so kind. They're just like, go, like it's okay, like pursue your dreams. And that's the type of people like Jane and Janessa are. They're so loving, like pursue your passion. They're so supportive. And he had asked me like a while ago, like, hey, if I could just attend the wedding. And I was like, yeah, no, it's no problem. Blah, blah. I would love to just attend it. I don't want to shoot it. And I think that's the one thing that, you know, I'm going to start realizing in the next couple of years as my friends start getting married. It's just like being asked to shoot the wedding all the time. And I've been asked that multiple times, right? And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But I politely decline. Like, hey, like, I want to be a part of your wedding. I don't want to be working your wedding, right? Like, you're one of my close friends. I want to be there. Yeah. Obviously, I want to capture these moments for you and do it my way, but at the same time, I just want to love you. Just be there. Yeah. But Jane and Janessa, I knew I wanted to capture it for them because I knew they didn't have anybody else. And so I had a team with me. I hired my friend Andre, and I had another friend, David, come through. And yeah, we shot their fucking like 9-hour wedding. Like it was like a long ceremony because it's a Catholic church, it's a Catholic wedding. Mm-hmm. And then there was, you know, obviously the wedding photos after, and then there was the party after. And so these days get really long, right? But even before all that, you got to get the prep, you got to get the whatever, right? Yeah. So, you know, I've shot weddings in the past, but this was different because, it's crazy. I don't even know what made it different. But like, there's this feeling that you have when you do something different.
Yeah.
Like, and every time like I heard that shutter click, I just felt like, fuck, dude, like, this is gonna last this couple of lifetime. And of course, that should be done with every wedding. I'm sorry to all my other wedding clients, but that should be for every wedding. But it was different doing it for a friend,
For sure.
right? Not saying that this is okay for me to shoot for other friends in the future, but for them it was different because I know the people that they are. I know the service that they give to their communities. Like Janessa is she works with like the disabled blind folk, and like she teaches them like not necessarily Braille, but like she helps them with like their needs and stuff like that, like social work, right? And then Jan is also a youth minister in Fremont, and like not to say like that works like played out or whatever, but like that's some hard work, especially today, like teaching the youth about a God that they feel like abandoned them. How do you do that?
Yeah.
And so I like, not to say I know how he feels, but like I could feel like the pain, but I can also feel the joy and the justice in what he does. And so capturing both of them together, like, and just them being together was like, I'm so happy I could be here, you know?
Yeah.
So that reflection, sorry it took so long to even get to that point. That whole reflection was one of my favorite things. It's like one of the favorite things I've ever shot. Because I was able to make those moments a gift for them.
Yeah, dope. So we want to kind of round it out. One thing we always ask for our guests, it's a simple question, but also kind of loaded, right? And that is, are you happy? Are you happy right now?
And also, are you like proud of yourself? Because this podcast, as well as like a moment in time, as you said, and hopefully we could look back on this, when I'm at your wedding or whatever, when we have kids, and we could see what it was like.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, of course I'm proud. Like, yeah, of course I'm proud of like the work that I've done and the work that I will continue to do because the fight don't stop. Like until the day that I die, I'll continue to be proud because that's all we have. We have this Filipino pride, this Filipino American pride in us, and that's okay. As long as we're doing it for the right reasons, right? And like, again, this balance of like artists yet being humble, like just, again, creating that pathway, continuing the legacy, like for everybody else, like I'm proud of that and I will continue to do that. And the loaded question of like, are you happy? I mean, it's only a loaded question if you make it. But yeah, I am happy. I'm happy because I got a lot of loving people in my life, and to live a fruitful life, that's all you need, right? You just need the community around you. So obviously to build and to expand and to make other people happy, like that's what I'll continue to be proud of and happy about. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
For the last 10 minutes, we'll do like we kind of do like a speed round of interesting questions. And we also have these like table questions here. But I wanted to ask you, favorite song, favorite artist?
Oh fuck, dude, no. No, this is so hard. Oh my god, this is gonna be the longest part of the podcast.
Or a couple if you don't
Oh,
want to.
dude, I can't. No, don't do this to me, guys. Favorite song, favorite artist. Oh my god. Shit. What am I listening to right now? There's hella people that just got canceled recently. I'm just like, nah, I can't fuck with you. Like, oh man. Right now I am fucking on Pink Sweat. Pink Sweat's is dope. I love him. I think he's dope. Favorite song from him? Shit. Oh fuck. Like, is it wrong for me to say cocaine on here? Like cocaine, Coke and Henny.
Oh yeah.
Coke and Henny, like
Good
that, and cocaine. It's just a good song.
You like Honesty?
Oh yeah, of course. A big artist of mine that I've always loved is Black Bear. I've always loved Black Bear. He's always been fucking dope as fuck. Who else? This one's like kind of like not no name, but like kind of on the low key. Eden. Eden is one of my favorite artists of all time. If you guys haven't heard Gold, check out Gold by Eden. That track is fucking emotional as hell. That's dope. Tom Mish. Shout out Tom Mish. Shout out to our London lovers. Like, he's dope as hell. Love Tom Mish. Again, like, giving you a favorite track is fucking hard. But if I had to give you a favorite track, I already said it. Gold by Eden is definitely one of those tracks that if I listen to that shit, it's just like, I'm in the mood. Like, I'm here. It's not like hyphy or anything, but it's just one of those things where you sit, you listen to it, and you reflect. And I'm okay with that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Cool. What are your simple pleasures in life?
Oh, God. That's an even weirder question. Simple pleasures in life, sitting at my desk and editing. There's something weirdly fascinating about it. A lot of people hate the editing process, after like a good photo day, but I'm one of those people that love it. I just love looking back at all the work, that I put into that day and just punching them photos out, and seeing these people that are happy in these photos or emotional in these photos and giving that work out. So that's one of the simple pleasures. So another simple pleasure is just kicking it with my parents. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, like, I call my dad like 1 to 2 times a day, and so like hearing his voice, that's something that brings me joy. Hear my mom's voice, it's just something that I always want to make sure I constantly find pleasure in. No matter like how irritated I may be with them, they're my parents, and I wouldn't be here without them. So just making sure I talk to them every day.
Cool. Shit, this one's what's your favorite song? I'm playing the card. Touch on that. Let's do like any. What annoys you?
Oh God.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh man, what annoys me? People that don't have time management. I don't like. I'm somebody that focuses heavily. Obviously, I keep talking about it. Focuses heavily on time. Time is something that the world revolves around, and you can't stop it. And so, when you don't make it on time to something, you are now wasting somebody else's. So, something that annoys me greatly is when people are not on time to things. And if you are not on time to things, communicate it. In those moments, it is okay because you communicated with me that you will not be on time. If it is not communicating, people just show up late, like clients or like a date with my friends, or just a hangout with my parents. Like, make time.
Yeah.
Cool. Last one. For any like aspiring photographers or educators out there, what do you think you would say to them?
I believe in you. That's so fucking cliche, dog. No, man, that's the one thing. One of the one phrases that really kept me going was "I believe in you." Like, fuck the likes, man. I said that already. Fuck the likes. Fuck the comments. Whatever it is. If you are gonna comment, if you comment on somebody's work, or you tell someone straight up in the face, like, "Hey, I believe in you." Like, there's a weight to that word belief. I'm somebody that paid heavily, like, a lot of attention in my linguistics courses and communication studies, and words carry a lot of meaning. Obviously, it's what we speak. We say these things out loud, but we have to say everything with purpose. And telling somebody with purpose, I believe in you, I believe in this, I believe in the work that you do, I believe in your blood, your sweat, your tears, like, it's recognizing their existence and what they will continue to do. It's recognizing their past, their present, their future. It's you are the embodiment of that, right? And so telling like any other artist that's out there struggling or is already there, just keep telling them, I believe in you.
Hell yeah. Dope.
Cool. Yeah, that does it for episode 4. To all our viewers out there, our last episode, Jonathan Molina talked about the circle, and as you continue to gain knowledge, your circle grows bigger, but that means everything that you don't know on the outside, it gets bigger as well, right? And I think today, me and Ray learned a lot about, like our pursuit of passion and that there's still so much more to learn, and we want to thank Sean for joining this podcast, sharing his story.
Word, guys. Appreciate you guys for putting me on.
Yeah. Anything
Thank
else?
you, man. Yeah, I mean, if you want to shout out anything, like your social media, like where they can find you.
Oh, man. This part's always so weird. Alright, yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I guess, at Shansky, SEANSKII. Also check out my website, seansantos.co. You can find my latest work in my client section. Feel free to holler at me. you want to chop it up one day, grab a coffee, all down.
Hell yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it, brother.
It's all good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right, until next time, that ends it for episode 4.
Word.
Peace out, y'all.